it was after a big storm, and Robert was coming through the house, and Grandma Schumann was in this rocking chair, but she was breathing peculiarly. And Robert called someone, I can't remember who, but an adult in. We were still children, you know, and says, Grandma is breathing funny. So I don't remember who it was, but they carried Grandma, in a stretcher from 4th Street, 408 4th Street, to the hospital, Laura Eldridge Hospital, there on Lakeview Drive and Wood Drive, and she passed away, as I heard, was on the way to the hospital on the stretcher. And we were too young to really see what the word is, be aware of what was happening. But that's how we lost our Grandma Schumann. She lived with us, like I say, until her passing. And we knew, all we knew was German at home. So we learned our German and said our prayers in German and talked with one another in German, and everything was German, because Grandma Schumann and Grandma Meir, that's all they knew. After I got married and I'd visit Grandma Meir over on Brook Street, I would tell her that das ist mein Schatz, or whatever. Really, she wasn't a Schatz. She was my wife by then. I can't remember what wife is in German, but anyway, when Grandma Meir would say, Sein Frau, well, Hilda would say, well, I know she was talking about me, and I'm sure it was nothing that she needed to be ashamed of. Okay, Kathy, that's about all I know. The very first time we went to A&M was Mom and Daddy took us there, and in the car. I can't remember what car it was, but we had we're already through the Model T Ford, and we had an Erskine, and then we had a '36 Chevrolet, and that's the car that I remember most vividly. But they took us to college, and when I lived in Walton, and Walton is a 3-storied dormitory, and the stairway are staggered. In other words, you go up a landing to the first floor, and then you take another stair up to the second floor. And I would take 2 steps at a time. And Mama said, I was so happy to get away from home that I was taking those 2 steps to get up there and be away from home. But that's not right. I took the 2 steps and to not have to take 1 step at a time. So I happen to be Mama's favorite. I don't recall that Robert and William were favorites of any of our parents, but I do know that Herbert was our daddy's favorite son. And I say that because Daddy would do anything at all that he could for Herbert. And it started out with Herbert capturing bees and bringing them home, and then he learned all kind of instruments. Started with a juice harp, and then with a mouth organ, and then finally with an accordion, and then he graduated to a piano accordion, and then he could fix things like radios and things like that. He made us a crystal set when we were young that we would lay in bed and listen to. And when I say we, it was the 4 of us boys lived on 4th Street, and William and Robert slept together in the one bed, and Herbert and I slept in the other bed. we grew up as a family, a close-knit family, and I'm sure that that's how Robert and Alice were able to keep up that tradition of being family-oriented. And then when my children started coming along, why, we were family-oriented. Incidentally, we moved to West Texas to get out on our own. I probably should have stayed in the Sugar Land area, but let's reflect now that had we stayed here, would our family still be the same as it is today? I have those 6 beautiful children that we raised, Hilda and I raised together, and Robert and Alice had those 6 beautiful children that they raised together. Now Robert's staying here with Uncle Paul and all is different from my working for the highway department and moving off. I remember Mama told us at one time, told me at one time, well, you have to go where the work is. Well, I could have found work here, I'm sure, but I didn't. It wasn't in the plans. And I can remember where Uncle Willie wanted me to move to Houston. He couldn't use the H in Houston. It was always Houston. But we didn't move back to Houston. I moved to Sanderson, and then went to Cuba, New Mexico, and then came back to Midland and worked for Hank Avery and Pat Stanford, 2 Aggies of the class of 44 that were in my class and fellow Aggies. And I can't complain about my life, and I'm sure Robert can't. He stayed with Uncle Paul, and I understand that Uncle Paul was an extremely rough taskmaster. So of the 5 of us, Daddy and the 4 boys, I was the only one that did not work for Uncle Paul. William did, Robert did, Herbert did, Daddy did. And Daddy, we understand, moved back to Schulenburg for some reason or other, and the sugar company pursued him. And Daddy didn't want to come back to Sugar Land to work under Uncle Paul. So they told him that you come back to Sugar Land from Schulenburg, and we'll see to it that you don't have to work under your brother. So whatever it was, but later on, I think we learned that Uncle Paul was a very strict taskmaster, and he wanted it done his way. And so Robert, in order to be the good hand that he really developed into, he did what he was supposed to. And so he stuck it out, and he stayed there, and he stayed here until his last night, that they moved him from Methodist Hospital in Sugar Land to the house here, and he spent that last night in his own home. And they called me at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and tell me that Robert had passed away after he was home just one day. And I'm so happy that he was able to be at home with his children for that one day. And now he's gone, and he had the most beautiful funeral that there was. The church was full, the rosary was full, and then we took a bus to Letcham, and Robert is buried right alongside Alice. And so now, if we want to see Robert, we have to go to Letcham. And that's about it, Kathy.